Honorable Chief Justice Anwar Usman, Chief Justice of Constitutional Court of Indonesia, Honorable Chief Justice of African and Asian Constitutional Courts, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I am highly honored to speak with Honorable Chief Justices and justices who are gathered from Africa and Asia. The Global Conference is truly a platform for Chief Justices and justices to share their experiences in adjudicating constitutional disputes and to discuss the function and roles of the courts in disposing landmark decisions that could affect the life of a given community or country. This conference, I'm sure, will serve this purpose fully. The relationship between Asia and Africa dates back several decades. Ethiopia has a long-standing relationship with many Asian countries due to its long history in war and peace, in trade and diplomacy. The position of Ethiopia as an independent and thriving country has helped to advocate for decolonization of Africa and other countries in various arenas, including in the League of Nations and later its successor, the United Nations. The Bandung Conference, which was held on April 24, 1955, was attended by 24 countries from Africa, Asia, and the Middle East. However, the countries that were present at the conference from Africa were only Ethiopia, Egypt, and Sudan, since most of the African countries were under colonial rule. The conference was truly consequential because the themes discussed in the conference and the ultimate declaration has contributed to the decolonization of Africa and the realization of economic, cultural, and political independence of these countries. The Bandung Conference was held in the eve of the Cold War, which lasted for decades to come, and the conference called for non-aligned movement and neutrality. Areas of cooperation between Africa and Asia were identified and ranged from economic and cultural cooperation to human rights and self-determination. The theme of this conference being on the role of constitutional jurisdiction for the protection of human rights and the maintenance of peace resonates with the goal of achieving the promises of the Bandung Conference. The fact that most African and Asian countries have introduced the concept of constitutional adjudication of human rights after the Bandung Conference is also an important milestone in attaining the placement under the declaration. After more than 65 years, the adoption of the Bandung Declaration, the situation of human rights has improved significantly in both Africa and Asia. The conference, which will be held in the historic country of Indonesia, where the Bandung Declaration was adopted, is helpful to renew our promises for human rights and peace building. Ladies and gentlemen, protection and promotion of human rights is predicated on peace and democracy. Peace and democracy are key factors to meet the needs of citizens, prevent grievances that arise, and resolve disagreements without the use of violence within the framework of the rule of law. As such, state that respects and upholds human rights and the rule of law to prevent and address grievances is more likely to witness peace and stability. Honorables, formal laws, including the Constitution, guarantee basic human rights and freedoms. Informal social and cultural norms that relate to behaviors of citizens serve as proxies for the level of tolerance between different ethnic, linguistic, religious, and socioeconomic groups within a country. In functional democracies, individuals are less likely to resort to violence because they know that their rights are guaranteed. by robust, inclusive, predictable, and independent institutions. Grievances will be handled through relatively peaceful and constitutional mechanisms. States are obliged to respect, protect, and fulfill the fundamental human rights enshrined in their constitutions and international instruments to which they are a party. As such, citizens need to ensure access to effective mechanisms and institutions to address concerns and prevent or end cycles of discrimination, marginalization, and violence. In addition to the judicial branch of the government, including constitutional courts, the existence of solid, independent institutions that address social issues are important for mitigating the likelihood of violence. At national levels, various institutions have been created to address respect for human rights, including human rights commissions, Office of Ombudsman, and other non-governmental organizations that are working to ensure the respect and the promotion of human rights. Honorable judges, in Africa, the immense task of interpreting constitution is vested either in constitutional courts fully dedicated to constitutional interpretation, or the task is mandated to the highest judicial echelons. Such arrangements reflect the global trend. Perhaps there are few jurisdictions that follow slightly different arrangements. Ethiopia is one such jurisdiction. We follow a different modality of constitutional interpretation. Under our constitutional arrangement, a council called Council of Constitutional Inquiry is mandated to receive complaints pertaining to constitutionalism. The body is constituted of 11 members and is chaired by the President of the Federal Supreme Court. Members of the council are drawn from the upper house of the parliament and prominent members of the legal community. The mandate of the Constitutional Council is limited to issuing advisory opinion. The ultimate responsibility to adopt the recommendation is vested with the upper house of the parliament. Such arrangement raises interesting debates, but it is not quite exceptional to include political representatives in constitutional adjudicative bodies. In 2021, the Constitutional Inquiry Council made a landmark recommendation on the extension of government authority, since it was not possible to conduct the election in accordance with the constitutionally provided timeframe for general elections due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The Constitution has stipulated that the term limit for a federal government is 5 years, and the year 2021 was the 5th year of the elected government. The matter referred to the Constitutional Council was whether it was possible to extend the term limit of the government given the condition of COVID-19 and conduct an election within a reasonable future time. The case was referred to the Council by the House of People's Representatives for a constitutional interpretation. The Council well understood the gravity of the case and made special plans to make the deliberation. We invited professionals to submit amicus curiae on the possibility of extending the term limit of the government in some exceptional situations. We made sure that the deliberation was televised to the general public, since the issue is a matter of great public interest. Hearings of relevant institutions such as the Ethiopian Electoral Board and the Ministry of Health were also conducted. Prominent constitutional lawyers also participated in the hearing. Following the conclusion of deliberations, the Council has issued its recommendation to extend the mandate of the government for 1 year. Recommendation was based on well-known constitutional interpretation, philosophies, and principles. The recommendation was endorsed by the House of Federation. Based on the decision, the National Electoral Board of Ethiopia has conducted a free and peaceful election within the provided time frame. Ladies and gentlemen, honorables, I have raised this example to demonstrate the important role of constitutional jurisdictions to maintain peace and democracy. Constitutional adjudication bodies have tremendous responsibility in developing and nurturing constitutionalism, ensuring that the rights of individuals, communities, and the functionality of the state is affirmed and respected. Conferences such as this provide great opportunity to share experience and learn from one another. It is also important that constitutional adjudicative bodies should communicate their work to the public by using various platforms. This will ensure transparency and legitimacy of our work. Communication is also useful to educate the public about the Constitution and how and when the public should exercise their constitutional rights. Honorables, our world is facing multiple challenges ranging from economic crisis, climate change, conflict, and the negative impacts of digital revolution and a global pandemic such as COVID-19. At our respective jurisdictions, cases related to such critical and existential matters are submitted to us. Hence, we do have an immense responsibility to shape the future of our societies by using the rule of law and administration of justice as a vehicle. The role of the rule of law for peace, inclusive and sustainable development is provided under Sustainable Development Goal 16. The goal aims to promote peaceful and inclusive societies for sustainable development, provide access to justice for all, and build effective, accountable, and inclusive institutions at all levels. I wish I was able to join this important meeting in person. I wish you a fruitful deliberation and thank you for your attention.